We saw races that Republicans won very big in, and we saw races that certainly the Democrats won big in. It seemed like people really went party ticket when they went to those polls, and they knew going in they were going to vote straight party line.
How much do you think the President Donald Trump, had to do with some of the results here in Connecticut?
Absolutely. I think the more affluent areas we saw in Fairfield County, in places like Madison, there was certainly an anti-Trump wave. We've had entrenched Republicans there that have served their districts very well, that we're hearing at the polls, we love you, we're sorry, but we need to make a statement on Trump.
What's the message when it comes to Donald Trump for House Republicans?
Well, I think we need to continue with our message of, lowering taxes. Obviously, we put together a very good bipartisan budget, which had a lot of Republican proposals that led to a surplus in this current year. And I think, the message right now is, frankly, I think some of the voters are going to get a hangover when they start seeing in January proposals to raise taxes, to raise minimum wage. That's going to impact our economy.
You mentioned that it was partially a referendum in some towns on President Trump, but you had other towns where it was kind of bizarre, where you had in Bethel and Greenwich and Ashford, where you had Bob Stefanowski win at the top of the ticket, but then you lost a seat that you either held before or that was flipped. So how do you explain that?
Well, I think what was very clear is people were honing in and treating the governor's race differently. They weren't looking at it as R&D. They were looking at the two candidates as opposed to, it felt like the legislative races were caught up with the whole issue going on at the federal level. So I think people want balance at the federal level, and that just trickled through.
You think those voters were actively splitting their tickets, saying, I want Bob Stefanowski, but maybe a Democrat might be a little better for me being on a local level kind of thing?
Absolutely.
We haven't heard a lot of division from Donald Trump from your party, where even when we've gotten some of those comments that have maybe made a national firestorm, does that mean that you guys need to step up and speak up from time to time when it comes to the president, or no?
Well, I don't think it's appropriate for us to do that. I think we need to stay on message of the job that we do for the state of Connecticut. If we start getting into the federal politics, it really confuses what our role is as a legislator. So our focus is continue to be the fiscal accountability, getting our house in order, growing jobs in Connecticut. And I think we've brought the Democrat Party on board with that. I am hopeful that we continue that bipartisan relationship, because you don't want to hear people saying, I can't afford to live in Connecticut anymore. While there might have been gains in the House and Senate, I think the general electorate in the state of Connecticut still recognize that Connecticut is unaffordable, and they are concerned about the job losses.
We've heard a lot of negativity about Connecticut, but it seems that the message of negativity maybe just didn't work. The anti-Dan Malloy thing just didn't work. Was that part of the election result for you?
Well, frankly, I think the bipartisan budget that led to tax reductions, people have about a 6-month memory. So seeing all these tax reductions because of the Republican input probably made it easier for them to forget about the damage that was done 2 years ago.
And what I'm hearing from you, it sounds like you think that if Democrats come in with a giant blue gavel to slam things through, you think that will backfire. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Absolutely. I mean, their agenda backfired in 2010, and that's where we saw the largest gains in our party, where we almost took a majority. People have now forgotten that, and they're going to be reminded again in January, unfortunately.
So do we see obstructionist Republicans? Do we see working together Republicans? What do you think we see?
Well, I think Republicans have always stayed strong to their principles. And if Democrats are willing to embrace our ideas and have true open conversation, you'll see bipartisanship. But if it's going to be, we're going to leave you out of the room and then tell you what we want you to support, that's not going to work. And that's where you will see pushback.
Representative Candelora, thank you very much.